So today we're going to talk about lead follow-up. So it's one that I'm quite interested in. As a marketing agency, we generate a lot of leads for our clients, and it will come to maybe the end of the week or the end of the month, and we'll say, right, we've generated you 10, 20, 30 leads this month. How have you followed them up? What have you done? Have they turned into a sale? Because we're ultimately trying to get return on investment for our clients.
Yep.
So it's up to them to then sell to that client. And we also want to know, is the lead a good lead? Is the lead, ready to buy from you? And they would come back and they would say, I've not phoned them yet. I've not contacted them yet. That was like over 7 days ago. Why have you not contacted them? Oh, it's just I've not got around to it. I'm going to, maybe going to contact them this week. I'm like, do you understand that they are not just shopping around for you and only you and they're waiting in your call? They will go and they'll find a solution elsewhere. So if you don't call them at the very, very, start, when that inquiry comes in, you're probably going to lose them. Is it one of the stats or something like that the first person to, pick up the phone and call the person is the person that gets the business? I think it's like at a 90%.
More often than not.
90%.
Well, I think it's the speed of follow-up. So it's like, this is actually where I ran rings around much bigger agencies much earlier on because of this very thing. So we had a client reach out to us from Dubai not long after I'd set up, and they were doing their homework and they said, look, we're reaching out to you and 6 others, we're just looking for quotes for a new website. And I'm thinking, okay, cool. So I get back to the guy, reply to his email straight away. So within like 10 minutes of him emailing me, just acknowledge, thanks very much, Mark. Just use your name to disguise him. Thanks very much, Mark. I'll have a look at the website later on today, your current website, and then I'll get a kind of meeting arranged if that's okay. Now, I told them I'd have a look at the website. I didn't say how I was going to look at it.
Yeah.
So then even within a short space of time after it, I'd recorded a video of it and sent it to them. And they had said to me that you replied, done a video of it, and scheduled a meeting with us before the second agency even replied.
Wow.
And that's how I won the majority of my work, right off the bat.
Yeah.
So they were like, we're reaching out to these. And then even by the time I'd closed the deal, they said 4 of the 7 people we reached out to have still not replied. So it does make you think, these are all businesses are looking for more leads, are looking for more sales. And I get it. Like if you're like an electrician right now, there's probably no chance you could take in any more work. Like you're probably swarmed because there's like a massive boom around a lot of industries right now.
Yeah.
However, if you're getting the leads and you're not following up, there's always going to be someone there that's hungry that will take that away for you. And it's a competition at the end of the day, it's a race. So if you, me and 6 other guys are in that kind of competition and you and me go back straight away, what's a 2-horse race then, isn't it? Because they're not going to say, do you know what, I'll pick the guy that took 2 months and 15 chasers to come back to me with a quote. They're not going to do that. But also, what you're really telling that customer is, I'm not interested in your business. I don't want to kind of talk to you, or I'll get to you eventually when it's convenient for me. But I think it's often to do with the business owner is too saturated, so they're taking on too much, and in their own time blocking, they're not making space for it. But psychologically, I also think it's to do with there's a fear there about phoning the customer. So you contact me, I'm very adamant about phoning you back as soon as I can. So even if it's a case of, look, I don't have a massive amount of time, Mark, but I just wanted to say, I got your voicemail, I'm very interested. Are you available tomorrow? Do you have a time here or there? Or I could talk to you later on tonight if it's like a priority. And I can try and get a rough sense of like what is the opportunity and then get it scheduled into the diary so that they got, right, I've got this in here. When I was smaller and we were less busy, I was able to kind of react to them far faster. But I think that's massively important about why the business owner cannot be the person producing. Like you cannot be the resource. If you're the developer, the designer, the whatever it is, you don't have that capacity then to answer these calls, and that's your job. The marketing and the sales always sits with the entrepreneur, and I think so many people are just terrible at following up. And it's either the anxiety of phoning them, somehow in their head they've deluded themselves thinking it's a cold call, or they're not looking at it in the sense of there is a bit of an urgency around there, because that need is now. Very rarely is it, come back to me in 3 weeks, mate.
I think that's the thing. I think it's fear of rejection.
Probably.
I think it's the rejection and not being able to handle objections on the calls as well. So you can see that a lot of the time. I, to be perfectly honest, I was never a good salesperson at the start. I think when young in my career, I was like, I don't want to be in sales, and I don't want to do that. And there was a certain fear. But actually, when you started the business, you're like, I'm never going to be able to grow this business if I don't sell.
I wouldn't say I was a good marketeer. Like, I'm the other way around.
Yeah.
But I have to be for my business. So if I'm not the face of my business, well, who else is going to do it for me?
But that was one of the things. Like, you talk about like working in a call centre. You must have picked up these skills of working in, phoning people day to day, picking up that the phone is quite easy. It's
I done 294 calls a day.
Aye.
And I was like a top salesperson within the call centre.
Yeah.
But I was also a saddle. I used to study sales, so I remember like
when you said a saddle, I was like,
that's
somebody sat on you.
But it's the a saddle like a horse. So I was going with that kind of way. It was funny, right? So we were kind of like, I was dating a girl when I went to the call centre, right? And we were together or whatever. So we're all gathered around the canteen, and she kind of leads forward and says like, John's house is like really weird, and everybody's like, oh. And they lean in, and I'm like, oh God, what's this going to be? This is horrendous. And she's like, it's just like books everywhere, just walls of books, like sales books. Exactly. I'm like, she's got me down as some kind of predator or something. And I'm like, don't tell them about the swing. But anyway, so she's talking about these books and the kind of tech and stuff. And I'm thinking, what's wrong with that? Mm-hmm. It's just you're wanting to hone your craft, you want to get better at it. But it's like, if you're going to do a job, my view is, regardless of whether you're flipping burgers or you're cleaning houses, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Why would you not want to do what you do better and become better at it? It actually makes it more interesting. Yep. So sales and business is very much like a game. But I think like looking at it that way, I always resented working in a call centre. I really didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. I was good at it, but I didn't like it. And I am quite averse to phoning, so you think somebody like me would be right into cold calling because I've done it for years. But it's almost like I'm kind of like, that way you see somebody that escapes the desert and they're like, I don't want to go back to a hot country ever again, just in case. It's like Jurassic Park 3, no power on this earth can get me back on that island. He ends up back there anyway. But with follow-up, I think it's very different. I do think it's like that is a warm, qualified lead. It's not the same as a cold call. So the thing that I didn't like about cold calling was I was using my skill set for evil rather than using my skill set for good. So selling old ladies gas and electricity feels a bit like a scumbag move, but it was my job. That's what I was paid to do. So that guy says, sell this, sell this, sell this, and I go and sell it. Whereas now I'm selling something that I genuinely know will help a business owner. So it makes it different, because if you're not phoning them, it's like, well, do you not believe in your product? Do you not think you're giving them a good deal? So why do they need to face that anxiety before they get to the or, and here's a newsflash for people, don't you be the person to phone them then. You can easily hire a PA and say, right, here's what I want you to do. So leads are going to come through this source and they're going to ask us for an e-learning website. This is a script, and you could write it and say, there's the script. I want you to phone them up and say, hi Mark, I see that you put an inquiry through on our website and you were asking about an e-learning platform. Have you got a course already in mind? Have you already built your course, or are you still planning your course just now? So there's a question. They answer it. Fantastic. And it's a triage, yes, no, all the way down, and say, brilliant, I definitely think we can help you. Why don't we get you scheduled in for a demo, and I'll get one of our consultants, who's probably the CEO or one of the consultants in the team, to sit down with you and go through the solution. How does that sound? Fantastic, that's amazing. When would be better for you, Thursday or whatever? And they put it through their Calendly or through their kind of scheduled calendar. That's selling. But it's not selling in the way that you kind of I think they're almost thinking like, right, we're going to go into a negotiation and I'm going to say, how much is it? That's a bit dear, and back and forth, and you're like, you're overthinking it. Just turn it into a kind of questionnaire, in the sense of, your job is to say, you're interested, great, this is what we do, I need to make sure you're a good fit client and that we actually work out, is there something we can offer you? And then my job is to price it. So just breaking it down to that, I think, makes it much easier. But I think it is probably that thing where it's like, right, damn, Mark's done his bit now it's on me to sell. I mean, I'd love you to send me loads of leads and then I just need to follow them up. That sounds like a dream ticket to me.
It's you made a couple of points there. It's selling gas and electricity is not necessarily an evil thing to sell it to an old granny, but selling it it feels evil because you're cold calling and you're selling it to her when she might not actually need it.
Well, the way I look at it is exactly that. She wasn't a buyer, and I've transformed her into a buyer by buttering her up with a sales method.
But selling it to her when she's got a need and finding out she's got a need is actually a good thing, because that's what we try to do as marketers. We try to extract a need for them to then go, oh, actually, I'm interested in that as well. Yeah, and you talk there about obviously like a bit of a process, and I think that is really, really, really important as well, is having a process, and people don't have the process ever. I mean, I think if you ask a lot of business owners, you go, if you've got a lead, what do you do? Is there a set, is there set steps that you're going to do after that? Oh yeah, we'll phone them, and then I might be able to meet them, and then after the meeting I might send them an email. Having a set process of, right, first stage, follow a process, like what we did in jobs past was BANT, but there's so many now, isn't it? So BANT stands for budget, approval, need and time.
Yep.
But I think there's like CHAMP as well, which is challenges. It's pretty much all the same thing. But what you want to do is go on the call and actually understand, do they have a need in the first place? Do they then have a budget? Is this a business to business? Do they have the approval for the budget so they're able to sign that off? And then what's their timeline for that? Once you've got that information, that's it. Get off the call.
Yep.
Great. Okay, we're either going to set up a meeting, and you can get the rest of your team in place, or I'm going to set up a meeting with the manager, and then we're going to give you the prices. You have to have your set process. So as that initial call, then you have a discovery call, and after the discovery call you maybe send them pricing and negotiate the pricing, and then after that you do the setup. Everybody's could be a little bit different. Some of these could be a lot faster, where you actually have
maybe have that on the call itself.
On the first call. So the first call,
kind of need to take a read of that for where the client is as well. So some people, when you were mentioning when they were shopping about, and that's obviously the danger you're up against. I've actually asked people to stop tagging me into social media now. That used to happen quite a lot, where people would be going, oh, you should talk to John at Hyperbank, you should talk to John at Hyperbank. And I'm thinking, I appreciate what you're trying to do, because I understand that you're doing that to help me out, but it doesn't actually help anyone out that you do it for. And I don't just mean me, I mean anyone. So what you're doing is you're tagging me in and say, you should talk to either Mark Conley or John Loudon. So now you're putting me in competition to a friend on a post. But also it still goes on the speed of who that was. So the first one there is often the one that will get the work, even in that context. Yeah. So if I see a post that asks about web design, I'll generally not say to them, hi, we do web design. Here's a link to Hybrid Anchor and let's be at it, kind of thing. I'll actually try and pose a question that gets them to think about it. So I'll say, like, to me it doesn't sound like that is your problem. Like, why do you think it's the platform that's causing that speed issue? And then it's like oh well, I'm not necessarily saying that. And then in the comments I'll say, I'm not sure it is that's the issue. I'd be quite happy to take a look at it for you, but I can see you've been inundated with 100,000 million web designers, so potentially you've already solved it. And I'll make it quite funny. Yeah. But see if you're confident enough to put that phone call on, you'll probably get that business. Yeah. Because the amount of them are kind of like hiding behind the keyboard going, oh, can I call him? Yeah. The guy's just asked, right? He's just out and out asked. I need marketing. You don't get any more of an open door than that. Yeah. Know what I mean? That's like a girl at the bar going, I would really like a boyfriend, and for one of you single gentlemen to come and speak to me and buy me a drink. And you're like, oh, I'm not talking to her. Oh, can I? Well, what if I don't close the deal?
What's your budget?
Who cares? What's your budget? Right, so I'm just going to run a bant on you. Do you know what I mean though? But it's like they're telegraphing that's what it is. You couldn't be any more straightforward if you tried. But people make it complicated as if sales is this magical thing, like, no. And then they say, oh, I don't know how you could be so good at sales, or like, you seem so confident. Well, I'm not, I'm just asking questions. Do you know what I treat it like? I treat it like they've reached out to my company with a genuine interest to work with me, and it's my job to make sure that they get value. So can I help that person is the first question I ask, right? What's the problem? Okay, can I help with that? Maybe I can, maybe I can't. If I can, I follow it down to the next step. If I can't, my next question in my head is there a partner or a company I could recommend them to go to? Mm-hmm. Because that's actually the best way of protecting your reputation, I find. Yeah. Like I think, was it Scottish Enterprise aren't supposed to give any referrals. They gave me a referral, but it was because the customer was in a bad way. right? So they'd had a service, like a bit of software that would basically not been delivered. Pretty bad scenario. She was in a mad panic, and they phoned me and says, look, you're a guy that's known for putting out fires, would you kind of deal with this? So I have the phone call and I'm thinking, again, warm lead, if I can do what it is, pretty sure we'll get the business. But then she starts talking to me about a totally different tech stack. So she's using .NET, they're using Azure. I can't help her, it's not what we do, we're a PHP agency. So I said to her, look, I'm really sorry, I can't help you, but what I can do is I can put you in contact with someone that's like me, but for the technologies that your software's built out of. So you still end up retaining that stuff, in the sense of she might in the future go, well, Mark or John was a nice guy, so I maybe come back to them for other types of work, or I might recommend my friends to go to them. But if you kind of just say, no, that's not us, and push it away, and I have seen that, there's also agencies out there, and you'll know these horror stories as much as me, and it's like they phone up and they go, what's your budget, Mark? That's very welcoming, isn't it? Like they kind of, you know, it's like kind of,
what's your need?
Exactly. You go like,
can you approve this? Yeah. If you were to buy, could you approve this?
And you're just like, so you're putting it off straight away, and it's like, we wouldn't talk to you unless it was like a 20k budget, and you're thinking, I get it, but at the same time, it's quite a combative way of answering a question.
I had that with a software provider as well. It was like we were just interested in finding out more about marketing automation software. Again, previous job, and then they were like that. We don't take anything under £10,000, so we'll see you later. I was like, what? I was like, why not even just try to help out, or even just kind of go, listen, like this is what this is our minimum spend, but here's some other solutions that you might be interested in, so you can maybe go here and try them out, and then you kind of go, great, because you will remember that, because then down the line when you go, I'm ready to spend big, then I'm actually going to move to this one as well. I think
so if they're starting out and they say, like, see the problem with price, like somebody says that to me. I had it the other day, a guy I was talking to, and he said, I'm going to do a website, and the guy was wanting to charge like a couple of £100, and I'm thinking, the guy's a lunatic, why would they offer you a website for a couple of £100? But I couldn't say that to the guy. And you're listening, and you're like, see if that's the kind of budget, do a Wix website, do something really basic, give like a freelancer or a college student an opportunity, and then that gets you started, and then you can always come back to an agency and get it, a higher caliber. But there's a reason why your competitors are pulling ahead of you, and it will be because of that. Like if you look at like a site that's actually been planned out and thought about, and conversion's been built into it, you're going to get a massive return. Whereas if you look at it and just say, I've just kind of copied my competitor, and websites are just this kind of thing that you need, and you're thinking, right, you don't really want that. You don't want cookie cutter. You want to actually think about how do I generate the leads? How do I showcase my case studies? I actually had a guy come to me the other day. He was in the trade sector, and he'd been advised to make his case study page just an Instagram. I would just stick your Instagram on, and then you just show all your jobs there. And I'm like, who told you that? And he's like, that's what I was advised by this agency. And I'm like, well, they don't know what they're talking about. Because you would never, one, direct your traffic away to a social media channel instead of your website. Two, allow Instagram to decide how you showcase your case studies. Three, you're not even dialing into the customer's pain. And what the ideal case study recipe is to go, this is why they came to me, this was their problem, here was the solution, this was the process we took them through, and guess what, here was the results. Are you like Mark? Would you like to work with us? Blah blah blah. Then fill out the contact form, we'll have a no fee conversation or whatever it is, and it's like bang bang bang, there's a lead. Or you could just say, there's a really shockingly short Instagram photo, I hope you'll kind of choose this for your plumber or whatever it is they do.
I think that's the thing. I think what's helped me with it always is having that process, or having have a script. So I always have a script in place. So it's not exact script, but I will kind of focus on.
That's like a backbone.
So what I do is at the start is I try to build a bit of rapport. But there's always a hook in there. So I've got a bit of rapport. Find out, it's the weather, whatever, but don't spend too much time on it. I then move into a little bit about me. This is what a bit about me. It depends on if it's like they've called me first. So if it's me kind of going out to them first, this is me, this is a little bit about me, this is my hook, and this is how I can help you. If it's the other way, it's very much trying to go through a process where I'm listening to them and just really being inquisitive. Again, everything that I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to help you. If I can't help you, I'm going to then try and help you in another way. So if I can't help you personally,
recommend you on.
Listen, I can't do this. This is out with my control. But I know John. John is really good at this. I'll put you in contact. I'll do contact with him. You have an introduction and go that way. But I found that's really helped, because now when I'm either I don't cold call as much. I've got a little bit of a process, so I kind of do a warm up sort of email, then follow up. So it's a bit of a warmer call, so they kind of know who you are. But when I follow that up, as long as I've got a set process of what I'm going to say, then that's absolutely fine. And if I'm not got time, I'm not got time. Great, it's absolutely fine.
I to get it. Have you ever heard of the straight line system, like your Jordan Belfort?
The Jordan Belfort, yes. Is it something like there's a thing with it, and if it goes?
So it basically his theory is
yes.
So every theory is like a sale happens in a straight line like that. So it's all outcome based. So if you're thinking about it, I talk to you, and then you're saying, yeah, no, that's quite interesting, and then I say, so what would be the next logical step for this in, Mark? Like, what would you like to see happen next? I'd quite like to see a demo of the system, like you were saying. Fantastic. Let's schedule in for a demo. Then you see the demo, and it's like, right, that's fantastic. You know, are you happy with the platform? Like, you know, do you like to see the pricing, or you know, like, what would be the next step? So just by you asking that, like, what would be the logical next step, or what would you like to happen here? They're actually pulling you in a straight line. Yeah. So if you imagine it, their onboarding process is unique to them. But you might, if you don't have an onboarding process, the best thing you can do is almost, I would say it's like you're smoking out their process, right? So like, imagine you put smoke down a rabbit's hole, right? And it's going to then go through the warren, and it'll come out where all the other kind of holes are. So it telegraphs what the next steps are by you asking. Yeah. So what's the logical next step, or what would you like to happen now? And constantly pulling it through. So they'll actually take you to the close.
Do you make yourself a little bit agile then, and try to follow their process, or do you try and push them down a process of your own?
I would say that I do a kind of blend of both. So I'm more interested about what they want rather than what I want, because if there's a genuine opportunity in there for me, I'll find it. But if I don't find it, then fair enough. It's obviously not been terribly obvious when I spoke to them. Yeah. But when I talk to someone like, so I've had phone calls like that, and you're thinking, right, kind of need to work out like how much money and how are they thinking? Are they talking in terms of like DIY and they'll do bits themselves? So why not just play into that? Do you know what I mean? So if you're thinking, right, I'll do that kind of stuff. So I had a guy, he was doing e-learning, and he wanted to kind of build his own course. And I was thinking, oh, we build tons of courses, so we could kind of help you with that. Yeah. But maybe for yourself, it would be more like a kind of coaching capacity. So you could use our workbooks or tools. I've already bought all the software and the licenses. You're more than welcome to use our licenses. I can save you money here and there, and we could just do it like this as a consultancy gig. So I got like, say, 10 days consultancy at it, but you're thinking, that's still a great sale. Whereas I could have really forced his hand and tried to get him into a system, but I would have lost the type of work I wanted to get. Yeah. And I'm not bothered whether he buys the tool for me. You know, people go, I'm really sorry, I've gave that bit to Harry. I don't care, that's fine. Like, Harry's your brother, or I understand that. I'm not going to get every bit of business you have. All I'm saying is, I can genuinely help you. If it's something of interest to you, then let's make a deal and work it out. You know, it's like, if you want it to happen, I want it to happen. I'm pretty sure there'll be some form of commercial arrangement in there that we can kind of do that. But I think people remain too rigid, and that's what I was saying with the pushing sales away because it doesn't qualify quite on the price you want. To me, isn't a good kind of strategy. And I can understand that. I know lots of agencies that won't work with you unless it's like £1,000 retainer, and I do get that because it can get a bit too bitty. But ultimately, I'm much more interested to have a finite number of clients that I want to work with, rather than like every single bit of business that comes through my door, I go, right, how do I convert him?
And follow-up wise, would you always do it via call? Would you ever use email, or do you use any other ways to follow up?
International sales, I generally follow up by email because I don't know about the time zone, and also the kind of calling internationally thing is quite problematic, to say the least. Also, the language barrier can be quite a difficulty. So we had a client for years in Japan, and all the email, I've never spoke to the guy in person, it was all conversed over email. So I tried to take a read on the way they've reached out to me. So if they've phoned me, then I would phone them back. If they've emailed me, I might start with an email, but I'd maybe try and pull them to a call. So I'd reply to the email and say, just as I did with the first example, just to let you know I've seen this, I'll take a wee quick look at the website later on tonight. Once I'm free, so I'm free at 6, I'll have a wee quick look at the website and I'll come back to you and see if we can kind of do something for you. So what I've done there is it's not sat in my day. I've done it out of hours. I'll actually do the audit. I'll send it to them. That's kind of going to stand out for the crowd, and then I'll get them on a call or a meeting if they're here. So I could say, you know, you good for a meeting, and they might laugh and say, well, we're based in San Francisco, and say, well, maybe not a meeting, you know, that kind of way. Although I'm not against you buying me a flight, ha ha ha, you know. But then it's like you might get them onto a call like a Zoom, and then you close it anyway. So I think I do kind of follow that straight line in the sense of what's the next logical step. Like, where can I see this going? What's going to be the thing that takes it there? Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't need proposals. Some people, they are that way. Likewise, are you the person that would make this decision? Or are you reaching out to me on behalf of the person that would make the decision? Yeah. So asking a couple of qualifying questions is quite good as well, just to work out who you're talking to and is there a kind of appetite, have they budgeted for this before? I'm not interested in the number. I'm just interested, like, have they allocated funds to do this? Or is it like we'll see how much it is first.
And how do you handle objections? Like if they go like that, oh, it's too pricey or whatever. So how do you handle that?
That's interesting. I've never heard that before. What makes you think it's too pricey?
Spoke to another person and said that it was cheaper than you.
Cheaper? Okay. Is it apples for apples? They're doing the exact same thing, you know, their process. Look, would you be able to share the proposal? Because I'd probably be able to identify the areas where we differentiate on quality. And then I could kind of like show you like where we are as a comparative to that, so you can make a decision. That's
actually quite good as well, because then you get to see the other person's pricing.
And you're also calling a bluff, because it's very easy for me to say, oh well, you know, it says it's £700. Oh, I could get it for £350, mate. Fantastic, that's great. I'd be interested to see that, just to see if it's comparatively the same thing. But also in my head I'm thinking, if they can do it cheaper than me, I'll just place it with them.
It's always that's the biggest thing. Those objections always usually price, isn't it? It's price.
It's price. It's also
time's another one.
Time, like, and it can also be the sign off. So objections can be like, I need to talk to a business partner, or I need to talk to my wife. And they say, okay, yeah, I can understand that. You want to run it by her, kind of thing. Is it worthwhile actually bringing her into the call now? So I'll just call her. What's the number? And I'll bring her into the call. And it's like but you're taking control of that scenario again. So it's like in sales, you're either in control of that situation or you're not. But those aren't often what the real reasons are. So if I say I need to check with my business partner, that actually might be you've said something that scared me. Like, oh, he said 20 grand there. That's a lot of money. Yeah. And it's kind of like, oh, I'd need to check with my business partner, and I'll come back to you, Mark. But you need to learn to listen for those things and go, his mannerisms are changing, or his body language, or like when I said the price, it was a bit like, oh, that's great, mate. And it's like you can see they're kind of like withdrawn for you, and then it's like even having the confidence to ask that. So if you had kind of done, let's say I went, you'd be looking at about £3,000, and you're like, right, that's great. You know, that kind of way, like maybe if we could see like a proposal, or could you send me that in an email? And I'm like, look, when I said that to you, I kind of noticed that you were a wee bit unsure of that kind of way. Is that the price you expected? So I'm asking you like the real reason why you really saying that to me. Like, what's the real reason? And you go, I thought it was a lot less than that. Like, interesting. What number did you have in your head? Like, what did you think it was going to cost? I'm like, I wasn't really sure, but you know, but you know, if you had to pick a number, what kind of did you expect here? Is it like, you know, £200? And I'll go super low, just so they'll tell me their number, and then they'll say, oh, I was thinking like a kind of 1,000, and I'm like, well, how about this, Mark? How about I show you what £1,000 could buy you, or how I would deploy £1,000 to get me further down that road. So you might not be able to get the full thing, but I'd be able to get you something. Would that work for you? So now I've took back control and possession of the conversation to then try and help you find a solution. But the thing, I used to do it, but I don't do it now, is I will never now sell a person that does not have a need for what that is. So I used to kind of just chase the sale until you get the sale, whereas now I actually think there is a massive difference. You need to make sure that the client wants to buy what it is you're selling, otherwise it breaks down the relationship really quickly. Because if they buy into it with this kind of, oh, I thought I was going to get all this amazing sort of pot of gold and £1 million, and you know, my everything would upgrade, I'd have a nicer car, nicer life, all that kind of stuff, you're thinking, well, hold on, that's not really a fair expectation for a couple of brochure graphics or something, you know, like, so you do need to kind of like sanity check them and make sure that when they're buying something, you know, that's what we're agreeing, that's what you're going to get. Is that what you're thinking as well? Yeah, cool, okay, let's do business then. Cool.
So we kind of finishing up there. So looking at your lead follow-up, what is your business belter, or the most effective way to follow up a lead?
So best way to follow up a lead I find is to, one, quickly find out what the person's problem is, dig at it, make sure that is the genuine problem, work out if it's something that you yourself can provide, and when you can't provide it, start to build up a network of people you can place work with. Now, whether they give you a kickback or it's reciprocal or anything like that, it's just good for you to have that in place. I'd say that the second thing is to overcome your own anxiety about that, and it's really important that, see, even if you need to kind of like get some kind of method, so see if you don't like cold calling, here's a kind of tip for you. Get 2 jars, like 2 ashtrays, kind of like flatter kind of bowls or 2 cereal bowls, and set 100 marbles in one bowl, and every time you do a call you move 1 marble from one bowl to the other, and you stop when the marbles are gone. So if you need to put something like that in place for your follow-up, where you say, there's my 20 follow-ups for the day, and then your marketing company generates you 7, you pour 7 marbles in and you move them over, and you make sure you don't leave that office or that van or your work for that day without phoning all 7 of the marbles back. And that's a great way to kind of force yourself into that scenario.
I think my business builder would be, make sure that you have the process. I think with a process, even with a script, or knowing what you're going to say, will give you a little bit more confidence. So if you are not confident in actually following up sales, but ultimately don't be scared, don't fear it, because you're selling yourself, you're selling your business, and if you come across, yourself trustworthy, then they're going to buy from you. And probably going back to one of the ones, time blocking, probably try and make sure that you time block it in at regular intervals.
To get a chance,
Don't leave it in a Friday like one of our clients does. They only do it on a Friday, so I'm like, what happens if it comes in on a Monday?
It's probably the worst day to do it as well, unless it came in on Friday.
So I would definitely say that. Make sure, my business built up, make sure that you follow a process, and you'll find it a little bit easier. Okay.
That's brilliant.
So thank you very much for tuning in. As always, we create this content for you guys, and we always appreciate your feedback. Really looking forward to hearing your points of view on lead follow-up best practices. And again, if you have any better sort of lead follow-up best practices, please share them with us, and we will share them out and probably talk about them in future episodes as well. And as always, please can you share, subscribe to any channel that you watch, so if it's Spotify, Amazon, Google Podcasts, or Apple Podcast, you've subscribed to that, subscribe to YouTube, that would be absolutely amazing. So it's a goodbye from me.
It's goodbye from me. See you next week, guys.
Thank you.